that's super loud. Alright, we'll get somewhere in the middle. Anyway, guys, I'm pumped to be here. My name is Lance, and you have all weekend to get to know me, so we're going to jump right into it. So I know a few things about you guys. I know a few things about this weekend, and I know some of you, honestly, barely made it here this weekend. Like, I know that for a fact. I know some of you guys have anxiety going on. I know some of you guys have stresses going on at home that you are constantly thinking about. I know you guys are super busy. I know the anxiety for some of you guys just in school is like you've never had before. I know there's stuff going on like socially, you know, all that kind of stuff that just kind of goes along with middle school and high school. And I know a lot of you guys are dealing with like insecurity or maybe the feeling that you're not worth all that much. And I don't know that because Adam told me about that. That's not what we talk about when we talk every single week. But I know that because you guys are middle schoolers and high schoolers. I know that because I was a middle schooler, I was a high schooler, the things that I went through, just like the things that you guys are going through now. So my goal for this weekend is after you guys leave here in the next couple days, is that you feel more refreshed and you have less anxiety when you leave here. And also that you have a new sense of freedom and self-confidence. So that's where we're going to be going this weekend. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Sound good? Alright, so here we go. When I heard that the theme was epic, I thought, great. Everything I do is epic. Like, that's awesome. I was really glad about that. Because epic is the new awesome for me. Like, when me and Adam were growing up, everything was awesome, right? Like, dude, that car was awesome. Like, that game that we watched, that was awesome. Everything was awesome. That girl, yeah, she was awesome. Like, everything was awesome to us. Now it's epic. That game was epic. That wave that we saw, or Niagara Falls, like, that was epic. That pizza was epic. Well, maybe not pizza, but like I love pizza. Like, I love pizza too much. I was talking about it with Molly today. Like, I love pizza. Like, if I was gonna write a song about something, there's a good chance it would be about pizza. But like, I've never finished off a slice and just thought like that slice was epic, you know? But epic is really starting to lose a little bit of its luster, the word epic in itself. Because really, if everything is epic, then nothing is epic. If everything is awesome, then nothing is awesome. You know, if you love everything, then that really takes away a lot of the meaning behind love and all that. So I don't think that's fair to me or to you or to pizza. So why is that? Why do we crave our lives to be epic so badly? Probably because we have the internet, you know, and we get to see all these like super cool things that like everybody's doing online. Have you guys ever YouTubed? Well, of course you have. But have you ever YouTubed People Are Awesome?
Yeah.
You have you? All right. So we have a video clip that I want to show for a couple minutes. It's called People Are Awesome, and this was 2012 when they made People Are Awesome, and it's pretty epic. So watch this. So you guys probably don't know this, but Adam's actually really big into parkour. Do you guys know what that is? Like the free running where you're like jumping over stuff? Yeah. You gotta see, some of those clips are actually Adam, believe it or not. But, so when I watch that, I think like, how cool is that? Like, why can't I do that? And like, why can't like that just be me running around, jumping off those things, or doing all these tricks on skateboards, or shooting the basketball like from a helicopter? And then I think like, for these people to be able to do this, they've given their whole lives for this. They literally practice from 6 to 8 hours a day, every single day, so they can do those flips, or they can ride those waves, or jump off. The jumping off the cliffs, that's amazing to me. But like, do I really want to give up that much of my life so I can be able to do that? Not really. I like watching a YouTube video of it, but I don't really want to like be able to do all that stuff. So instead, what do? We dumb down the word epic so we can feel like the comparison game is way easier. You know, like, I can do a backflip on a trampoline or into a swimming pool, and like, is that epic? I don't know, it's kind of cool, but it's not like epic. But when other people do it, I say it's epic, so when I do it, I appear epic. Like, I appear, so like, it's awesome. And the problem with like stuff online and social media, well, before I say anything about social media, I love social media. Social media is not bad. I love Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I love all that stuff. I post all the time online. I posted right before we started about this. But the thing with social media and all that is that you're looking at people's like highlights. You're looking at the coolest things that people have done. Like when we watch that video, we're not looking at like when the snowboarder ate it, you know? Or when those parkour people are like running straight into walls or they mess up a flip or something like that. You're seeing like the coolest things they do. And it's the same thing with like Instagram or Facebook. Like, you guys are seeing, or like, when people follow you, you're seeing the coolest things that they've done. You're seeing like their highlight reel, you know? You're not seeing like their normal everyday stuff. Like today, this morning, I posted about how I was at Niagara Falls. I know Niagara Falls is like old hat to you guys, but like for us, Niagara Falls is still like super awesome. But this morning I posted about how I was at Niagara Falls and looking at the water and all that cool stuff. I wasn't posting about how, like earlier this week, I was just sitting in my apartment reading, and then I went on a run by myself. Like, that's not cool. Like, no one cares about that kind of stuff. You know, they care about like when I pan up and you see Niagara Falls, and like that looks awesome. So that's the kind of stuff that I post because I'm gonna get more likes and get more comments. And then when people say stuff like, "Oh, the stuff you do is so cool," I don't bring up like the boring stuff. I just let them believe that like everything I do is like super amazing. Because like that's what people want to see. Because that's the stuff that we think is like awesome or epic, you know? But it's not like realistic. And I believe that there's two reasons why people do that. Like two reasons that people post those sort of stuff. But first, let me kind of say something about the whole weekend. This weekend I'm going to be asking you guys questions. I'm going to be asking you guys to like focus inwardly and to think about the stuff that I ask you. And when I ask you those things, I want you guys to actually do that. I know some of you are just going to like lean back with your arms crossed and you know, it's very cool to be indifferent, like you don't really care. But I promise you, like if you guys actually take this weekend seriously and you're listening to the stuff that your leaders are saying, like the worst thing that's going to happen at the end of this weekend is you're going to be a better person. So when I'm asking you questions and saying, hey, think about this in your life, actually think about it. Actually consider that in your life. Because when I was in 10th grade, if someone was like, oh, well, think about, like, do you really care what people think about you? I'd be like, no, I don't care what people think about me. Like, what does it matter? But, like, if I actually think about it, if I actually were thinking about it, you know what? I do care what people think about me to some degree. And then when I was in 10th grade, I could have dealt with it when it was just, like, a tiny issue, instead of waiting until later in life when it became bigger and bigger. And then, like, when I was older in life, it became insecure, then I would let myself believe. So, when I ask you guys questions, I just ask that you like actually consider it, actually think about it. All right? So back to the two reasons why people are so into this like comparison game, right? Why they're so into like what they put online because other people will see it. And the first reason is they want to fit in, right? Like if anyone here ever go to a new school or like a new person at camp? Like anyone? Okay, so a bunch of you guys. So when I was in 11th grade, I switched high schools, and when I got there, like all I wanted to do was fit in. I just kind of wanted to like go unnoticed and just like fit in and like people to think I was like kind of cool, you know, kind of enough that they would want to like be my friends. Like I didn't want to stand out at all. I wanted the guys to think I was kind of cool. I wanted the girls to think I was like really cool. But I didn't want to like stand out. I just wanted to like fit in, you know? And it's the same way like we post things so other people will think like how cool we are, you know, or how like interesting we are really. So that's the first one. The second one is kind of odd because what we want to do is stand out. Like we want to be unique. Like we wear our hair a certain way, or we wear clothes, certain clothes, so like people will take notice. Or we do little things that are just a little bit different, so people will actually like take notice of us. You know, like I did. When I was a freshman, I had the bowl cut, the bowl haircut. You guys remember that? I know some of you like the older people remember the bowl haircut. But like that was cool when I was like in 7th and 8th grade, but I wrote it out like way too long. I also had like the Zach Morris highlights, which a lot of you like, I guess a lot of you people won't really know, but like I dyed my hair like more blonde so I could have like highlights. And it was kind of cool when I was like in 7th grade, but it wasn't cool in 9th grade. I wrote it out way too long. But the reason I changed it was because all my friends had the short flipped up in the front. And like everybody had that way, so I was like, well, I want to be cool. I want to be like them. So why don't I switch to be like them? Because it was new to me, so it felt like I was like standing out more. I was like being different. So you have the wanting to fit in. That's why people like compare themselves. That you have wanting to fit in, and then you want to be unique. And the interesting thing is that most people actually fit into like some weird middle part. Where like they want to stand out, so they fit in. And then if you think about it, it's like super confusing, but that's why they want to do it. They want to stand out so they'll finally like fit into whatever like people group that they're in. And then we're trying to be different, so we're like everybody else, which you think about it, again, doesn't make any sense. Because when you're trying to like keep up with someone, it becomes exhausting. Because like if I'm always trying to keep up with my friends, like what my friends think is cool is going to change, so then what I have to do needs to change, so then I'm, again, cool. And it gets exhausting, it really does. Because it's tough to always like try and fit in, because the styles are always changing, you know? Like the clothes that we wear are always changing. Like what kids wore in the 90s are different than like the 2000s and then what we wear today. Like everything is different, and then you're trying to keep up, it's just exhausting. And the simplest example would be like the iPhone. Like what iPhone does everyone have right now? 5C, 5, 4. Okay, but the cool phone right now is what? The iPhone 6, or like the iPhone 6 Plus. Yeah, like that's a cool phone right now. I have the 5S, so I'm already like outdated. But like, why do people stand out in front of the Apple Store for hours and hours or days to get this new phone? Because they want the latest, right? They want like the coolest thing. They want the latest thing. I'm sure some people's like their plan was just up and it was like time for them to upgrade, so they went to the 6. But that's like 2% of the people. Mostly, everybody wants to just be like the latest. They want to have like the coolest stuff. So that's like the simple example. The most practical example is the way we speak, right? Like we start saying words because we hear someone else say them and we like them, so then we take it into our own like vocabulary. Right, like the word swag. Like who here says swag? Like yeah, swag. Swag is a stupid thing to say because swag doesn't mean anything. Swag is just see, it's cool, yeah. But why is it cool? Because I promise people think it's cool because somebody cooler than them started saying it. That's why we change the way we are. Because we see what somebody else is doing and we're like, oh, that's cool. I'm gonna start doing that too. Like I'll start adding that into my vocabulary. You know, that's why I'll start saying like swag or epic or whatever. But like eventually the word swag is gonna fade and like a newer, cooler word is gonna come up and like everyone will be saying whatever the new cool word is. Like you guys can make up a cool now. What is it?
Herbs.
Herbs?
Yes.
I hope that won't catch on. That's not gonna go. But if herb, I promise you, if that's the new word and like the cool people start saying it, then like everyone's gonna start saying it because everybody else wants to fit in.
But it's so herb.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything. Yeah. That's okay. So what happens is like we want to change to like the next cool thing, the next cool word, the next cool iPhone, the next cool like style of hair or whatever. Like whatever it is, like we have to constantly change so we can keep up, so we can, you know, fit in with the people around us. And wouldn't it be way easier, like way easier, if our goal that we were like shooting for or that we were aiming for, like was constant. It just stayed where it was at. So like we could actually try and be like that person or like that thing and like be like have all of our focus into that as opposed to focusing on something that constantly changes. Because then you finally reach it, you finally come up with that cool word, that cool style, but eventually it's going to change. So then you have to redirect it and become that other person or that other thing. And I know you think about like hairstyles, and hairstyles can be like a silly example, but remember like everyone had long hair and then they did the flip up in the front, and then they went to what, the Justin Bieber, right? The whole flicking your hair. And then now a lot of them, it's like long in the top and like swooshed over. You know, like a lot of, I'm sure kids in your high school have it there too. That was like the big thing. And hairstyle is like a silly example, but you gotta like, everyone wants to like keep up with like what's new. And you do that so you fit in, so you're like more relatable, so like people will like want to hang out with you or whatever. And I know you're thinking like, oh, I don't do that. Like I'm totally unique. I'm my own person. Like, but like, are you? Because you ever notice, I've noticed this like my whole life. The more people try to be different, they just end up being more like each other. Like people like will start dressing a certain way to be different from one crowd, but then they just morphing and end up looking like a different crowd. Like I've noticed that my whole entire life, and if you guys think about it, so will too. So will you too. And what's wrong with that, when you start like comparing yourself or start trying to like change with the times, it's amazing because you start like being a slave to like the next coolest thing. You know, like you start thinking like, oh well, I have to do this to like fit in, and then it just doesn't like make sense because like we start being a slave to what sounds right, whatever seems like the best idea at the time, whatever just like feels good at the time. And when you do that, like it's a terrible thing because you're focused on like what feels good just in the moment, as opposed to like what's actually good or what's actually right in your life. And if you do like whatever you just think is right, is a huge danger because your mind will betray you. It just will. Like, we're not as smart as we think we are. I know a lot of you guys are very intelligent. You get good grades in school, and you know like, you have a lot figured out in like 7th grade. But like, we're not as smart as we think we are, and we can't see our whole story. I think that's the issue. Like, it'd be so much easier if I knew my whole life script, like from the beginning to the end. You know, I wouldn't have to waste time doing certain things. You wouldn't have to waste time with like dating certain duds in your life to end up finding the person that you're gonna end up with. It'd be so much easier if you just knew your whole story. Like, and wouldn't that be cool if we did know that? And we don't know our whole story, so that stinks. You think about like, oh, it'd be so much easier if I didn't know the whole story. But we don't know our whole story at all. But there is someone who does know our whole story. And like, spoiler alert, it's Jesus. And obviously, like, oh, he's gonna start talking about Jesus? Yeah, that's why we're here. Like, we're here to talk about Jesus, and I get super excited about Jesus because Jesus has changed my life completely. Like, I was telling the guys earlier today, like, if I wasn't a Christian, I would be a jerk. Like, I would not be that kind of a person, I don't think. But Jesus came into my life, and he like totally changed me. And I love that. And now, Jesus has changed so much of my life that I've become like unrelatable to a lot of people. And I think that's really cool. Like, some people will see like stuff I have done or whatever, and the reason I've done a lot of those things is because Jesus is in my life. And now it's like, people can't relate to that, and I love that. I think that's so cool because that's something that anybody can have. And it was at the point where I decided that like I want Jesus in my life, and I started taking Jesus really seriously, was when I decided to separate myself and actually become unrelatable. Because I started paying attention to the one person in the world that actually matters. You know? And I think that's pretty cool. Because wherever you direct your attention is where your actions are going to go. And I said that kind of quick, so some of you guys didn't hear me, but listen again. Wherever you direct your attention is where your actions are going to go. So whatever you focus on Whoever you're focused on, if you're focused on a person, you're going to try and become like that person. If you're focused on an activity, that's where all of your actions are going to go. So let me read this story. We're going to 1 Samuel, if any of you guys have your Bibles. If not, that's cool. It's a couple verses. So I'm going to read 1 Samuel 18. And this is, you guys know who David is? Kind of understand the crowd a little bit. Like some of you guys know who David is. There was this king named Saul. We're going to spend some time talking about Saul and David this weekend, so just real quick. Saul was a king, and he had his son Jonathan, and Jonathan and David became best friends. They were like besties. They hung out all the time. So because they were besties, David came with Saul everywhere. And everything that David did just turned to gold, like everything. So Saul put him in charge of all kind of stuff. So this is where we're going to pick it up. In 1 Samuel 18, we're starting in verse 5. There we go, verse 5. Whatever Saul asked David to do, David did it successfully. So Saul made him commander over the men of war, an appointment that was welcomed by the people and Saul's officers alike. When the victorious Israelite army was returning home after David had killed the Philistine, the women from all the towns of Israel came out to meet King Saul. They sang and danced for joy with tambourines and cymbals. This was their song. Saul has killed his thousands, and David his 10,000s. This made Saul very angry. What's this, he said. They credit David with tens of thousands, and with me of only 1,000s? Next they'll be making him king. So from that time on, Saul kept a jealous eye on David. So from that time on, Saul's focus became David. The issue with that is his focus became a man. And there's a huge, huge danger when we start comparing ourselves to a person because we're looking at them for how we should act. We're taking their cues of how we should act. Saul started watching David for everything that he was doing and started basing his actions around the way David was acting. So no matter whether it's based on like jealousy or the fact that we want to be like them, there's a real danger in that. And not the kind of danger that we should be like afraid of, but more the kind of danger that we should be aware of. You know, because if we were afraid of it, the fear would like keep us from acting, would kind of keep us from like thinking about it. But like when it's a danger of being aware of something, then you can start like thinking about it and how it actually, you can start considering it, and then you can start thinking like, is there a different way, like a better way of doing that? But it's a danger because comparison is the thief of joy. I love that line. Comparison is a thief of joy. Because, like, Adam is an incredible guy. He's, like, a great youth pastor. He's a great guy. But if I'm focusing my whole life on being just like Adam, there's an issue because I'm never going to be the best Adam. Like, he's awesome, you know? But if I'm taking all my actions and focusing to be youth pastor Adam, like, the best I'm going to do is second best. I'm only going to be the second best Adam Williams ever. So there's a huge danger there. 2 Corinthians 10:12, I'm just going to read it. It says, do not dare to compare ourselves with some who condemn themselves. And when they measure themselves by themselves and compare themselves with themselves, they are not wise. And I love that because it says if you compare yourself to somebody else, you're not wise. And the Bible is awesome. Proverbs talks about wise versus a fool all the time. And I think that's really cool because nobody wants to be a fool. You know, and like you want to be wise, you want to like give yourself credit to being wise. But it's not wise because you're not designed to compare yourself to anyone else. And that's what almost everybody does. They get hooked up into this thinking that, you know, comparing yourself to somebody else, but you were never designed to do that. We were not built to be like someone else. I'm not built to try and be Adam, or try and be like Pat, or be like Molly. That's not the way I'm wired. I'm supposed to be the best person that I am. I'm supposed to be focused on the one that deserves our attention, that's Jesus. It's not any other person. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people can get depressed, because you can see how somebody else is living their life, or if you think about your faith journey, right? Like, I don't know everyone in this room, I'm not going to claim that everyone in this room is Christian, but you probably have at least some interest in Christianity since the fact that you're here. But when you start comparing your faith walk to somebody else's faith walk, that's a scary place to be, because then you start thinking, well, all right, well, like, this person reads the Bible in the morning, but I like to read at night, like if I'm not doing exactly what he's doing, maybe what I'm doing isn't good enough. You know, or if I find out my friend is praying like an hour a night, and the most prayer I do is like right before bed, like I start thinking that like I'm not good enough, and then I'm not good enough for God. And there's that huge danger you can start thinking about. Because God doesn't want us to be compared to anyone else. My faith journey is different from Rick's. My faith journey is different from every single person in this room. So like if we start comparing ourselves to other people in this room, like you can start getting down on yourself. And it can lead to depression. Like depression is a real thing. I know you, 7th grade, you know, thinking middle schoolers probably like, oh, well, depression, like I don't suffer with depression. But everyone, like almost everybody will think of like either depression or like I'm not good enough at least sometime in their life. So if you think about it now, it's a way that you can really avoid that kind of stuff, which is great. So what I need to do in my faith journey is I need to keep my eye on Jesus. And what you guys need to do in your faith journey is you need to keep your eyes on Jesus. Because people will fail us. I wasn't sure if I was going to share the story before this weekend, but I feel like I should. One of the people that I look up to most in my life is the pastor for my old church. Awesome guy, on fire for the Lord, just great. He was my spiritual mentor for 7 years. 7 years, that's like half of some of your guys' life. Like, I went to him with all my issues, I listened to him every Sunday, awesome guy. And we found out that this past week, that he just admitted to having an affair for the last year. Which stinks. Obviously you guys probably know what an affair is, he cheated on his wife with someone who wasn't his wife, and now he's no longer the pastor of that church. Which stinks, because I looked up to this guy like crazy. And if I found all my if my spiritual journey was based on my last pastor, and he fell like that, and he messed up like that, what does that do to me? Like that messes me up big time, you know? But luckily my hope was never found in that pastor. Like sure, I went to him for guidance. I went to him for, you know, scripture and like, you know, biblical questions. But my hope was never found in that pastor. My hope was found in Jesus. And it says in the Bible, in Hebrews 13:8, that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today, and he will be the same forever. Jesus is constant. And that's the type of person that you should be striving to be like. He's the person that you should be striving to be like. And no one else. Because other people are going to fail, because nobody's perfect. And if we expect somebody else to be perfect, like, they're going to fail, because like, we're expecting them to be something that they were never designed to be. Like, no one is perfect besides Jesus. So that's the type of person that we're going to be like. So instead, I want you guys to, you know, put your attention on someone who won't fail. And then, when you're doing that, you can chase after Jesus as opposed to chasing after the latest fad or the latest cool thing. You put your attention on Jesus, and then other people will start taking notice in that, and they'll say like, things like, oh, well, that's not normal. Like, I don't get it. Why do you chase that guy? Like, that's not normal. That's not relatable. And you can say, no, I'm not relatable. And thank God for that. All right, so let's pray. Lord, thank you for tonight. Lord, thank you for the fun that we have been having and the fun that it's going to be having all weekend. Lord, and as we break up and go into our small groups, I just ask that you bless this time, Lord, and keep distraction out of this room so the leaders can guide the questions, Lord. And I ask that everyone is open with the questions tonight, Lord, and that they can just open up a little bit more and as we're talking about you this weekend, Lord. And we ask all these things in your Son's name. Amen.
Give it up for Lance. All right, so I'm going to tell you guys your smaller groups and where you guys are going to be